Hello and welcome to the conversation. I'm Stephanie Rivers, and this is KTown Icons. It's a podcast that speaks to and highlights notable people who grew up in or lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. Again, I'm Stephanie Rivers. I'm the host and co producer of the podcast. Now, today's guest, he is Cylk Cozart. He's an actor, director, writer, and producer, and he has appeared in over 30 films and 20 television shows. In his prime, you might have seen him in movies like 16 Blocks or with Bruce Willis and Most Def. You might have seen him in White Men Can't Jump with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. That's just to name two of his well-known flicks. Now, today he's right here with me. He's stopping by to bless the podcast. Let's welcome Cylk Cozart to the conversation. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Stephanie. How you doing, honey? Happy Easter.
Exactly. Happy Easter to you. I appreciate you taking time out during this Easter weekend to stop by so we can have a conversation. Now, before we get started, I did want to pay homage to Hollywood icon Louis Gossett Jr., who died recently. His acting career spanned more than 50 years. And some people might best know him as being in An Officer and a Gentleman. And before that, a couple of weeks ago, of course, we had Richard Roundtree to pass. He was best known for his role in as Shaft. Two of Black Hollywood's legends have passed on, so I wanted to make sure we acknowledge them before we moved on. And let's just start it off right there, Cylk. Who were some of the acting role models that influenced your career?
Well, Stephanie, you kicked it off perfect because Lou Gossett Jr. was one of my mentors. And it's been very difficult for me the last couple of days. And his son, Satie, is a friend of mine. And, I feel for the whole family. So this is not just somebody I met and then enjoy their work. And I did. Lou, I can't tell you what all he meant to me or means to me. So if my eyes are a little blurry, that's because he just meant so much to me. So I wanted to dedicate this particular podcast from me to him and his family, whatever that means. And but yeah, so Louis Gossett Jr. was one of the most important people in my life as far as my career is concerned. And along also Denzel Washington is it will always be like the person that just gave me so much inspiration and knowledge and great nuggets, as we say, that that we spread around. He kept me out of a lot of trouble when I first moved to Hollywood. You know what I mean? He always said, you can't be framed if you're not in the picture. So, when I was out there first, I said, I got to go to this party or that party. This director's going to be this. He goes, how many times you've been hired from going to a party? And I was like, well, there was that one. No, there was. So never. So he said, go to a party to have a good time. And that's it. Don't go expecting anything, like that. You audition, you do it, you get hired. Then they know your work. Then they just hire you from what you've been working on. And that's the way it is. And I was able to relay that kind of knowledge and wisdom to a lot of the young actors coming up, behind me. And I would say, why do you want to go to this party so much? Or why this director or producer wants to take you to breakfast or lunch? Go if you're hungry. Don't go expecting a job. And so that taught me a lot. So Denzel and Lou are just extremely, I owe them a lot.
Well, now we know that now most people have dreams of being in movies and or dreams of being a star athlete. You were blessed to have both talents. You could have been a top ranked basketball player. I hear. What's that about? Tell us about
Well,
that.
you know, unless when I came up in the '70s, back in the day, um, yeah, an NBA draft was like it went to 10 rounds. Right now, if you don't go first round, everything else is basically a tryout. But when I was coming up, it was really tough if you didn't go to a major school. You know, like Leroy Thompson went to Penn State. You know, you're playing on television every week. You know, so I went to a small junior college, Montreat Anderson Junior College, and in North Carolina, right outside of Asheville, because my grades wasn't the best. You know, in high school, I was just kind of I didn't like high school. It was very tough for me in Carnes. You know, I had to play against Austin East, and all my cousins would be on the team and friends that I'd see on the weekends, right? And I'd have to go back to the country and Carnes, you know, after that, and then I have to play against them. And they tried to kill me, man. They tried to kill me in basketball and football. So, you know, kind of like Leroy, I was tested at a very young age. So basketball became the one that I thought I could go the furthest. I love football, but the football coach wouldn't let me play my natural position, which was quarterback. They already had their quarterback, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
So I played wherever I could. And I had more scholarship offers for football than I did basketball because nobody knew me. So when I got to try out for a team, then I became a lot better. I got better and better. And the other thing is I came in during that late 60s thing where busing had just started in the late 68, 69. I was bused to Carnes High, and there was only maybe one or two black folks that worked there. And so, and I was 2 years younger than everybody in my grade. So when I was a senior, I was supposed to be a sophomore. But they didn't check then. And I didn't think anything about it. But as a 13-year-old freshman, you know, I was playing against guys who were 18 and some 19. And out here in Carnes, there's some 21-year-old seniors. But the point is, it did well for me because I got to play at a high level early. So when I got to play with people my age, I was like, you know, it was like kind of easy. But they wouldn't let me play my senior year at Carnes because they thought I was dating a white girl, which was interesting because I hadn't been on a date until I was in college. But it was a big deal if people mixed in any kind of way at that time, during that time, and I didn't realize that. I was just playing ball and jealousy and all that. So I was dealt those kind of cards early. So by the time I got to Hollywood was like nothing to me compared to what I went through, you know, out here. So that taught me a valuable lesson, very valuable.
So, well, you decided that you picked basketball over football, and then I understand that you also were a model. So, what is that? What took you to Hollywood to be a model first?
No, I got hurt trying out with the Denver Nuggets squad. I went to an NBA summer league and got picked out of the summer league to try out for, you know, the NBA scouts. All the teams would have scouts at that summer league. They would pick out of 600, 800 people, they would pick about 80. And then the next few weeks, they would pick another 80 out of another 600 or 700 people coming in from Europe and all over the United States that didn't make the NBA that year or the year before or the year before that. So it was a constant battle. So I was picked, but I got hurt at Denver's camp. And instead of wanting to come back home, come back to Knoxville and lick my wounds, you know, I thought, what, you know, I don't want to come back. I thought I failed, you know, and had this crazy injury. I fractured my foot, so I couldn't play. So I was just sitting. I was like, I'm not going to just sit here. So a friend of mine said that her aunt ran a modeling agency in Miami, and I'd never really been there. And so she convinced me to just drive out there. So I had a cast on my left foot, and just from my calf and to my foot and over my foot. And so I couldn't do too much. So I would hang out at the beach. So finally I went to an agency and they signed me, Michelle Pommier agency. They also had Cindy Crawford that year. So she and I came in about the same time. And you know how different looks every 5 to 10 years, they want the light skin here, they want the dark skin here, they want this here, they want the mixed looking here, and every whatever, so often there's different looks, right? That's
Right.
in or out. So while I was coming up, there was no, I didn't know what look was in or out, but I got to work a lot. And so that got me, in magazines, and got to travel around the world. I'd never been to Europe, and got to go to, France and Italy, and just fell in love, not just with the city, not just with the country, just with everything about it. So when I got back, I wanted to act since I was a kid, from being in church plays and things like that, like most kids do. I think one, like you said, want to be an actor or want to be an athlete or any of that. And I got to really do that. And it's like I feel like I'm living my childhood dreams, So by the time I got to Hollywood, it wasn't really uncomfortable. It didn't. I didn't seem to be intimidated with the things that most people were intimidated with. I didn't understand. Why would you be nervous going into an audition? It's an audition. If they like me, they like me. If they don't, okay, next. So I had that kind of attitude going in, which really helped me. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I just kind of blocked out things that didn't help me, kind of eliminated all the things you don't need, and what's left is what you got and what you need. And it really helped me. Plus, I had a really strong relationship with the people that raised me. They were like grandparents to me. And my mom, she had me when she's 16 years old, 16, 17 I think right when I was born, she was right in there. And so you got a baby having a baby, and so if she hadn't have been the strong girl, young woman, that helped me get through those tough years, because she protected me, which allowed me to develop. And she was able to put me in a household and they were family. They were like, they were my father's aunt and uncle. So they were like they were like grandparents, basically. And it gave me a certain foundation. So by the time I got to Hollywood, it was just like going to Oak Ridge. I mean, really. And I would meet stars all the time, but I would be like, hey, man, I like your work. And they were like waiting on me to get an autograph or something. I'm like, no, I don't want your I don't need your autograph. I was just going to give you a pound, like good stuff, but I soon saw it was such an image-based business. So you had to make sure, like Denzel said, you ain't gonna get framed if you ain't in the picture. Just don't go to a lot of those parties. And now we see how they're trying to tear down, especially Black Hollywood. And everybody that made it big didn't go to those and do those things. But you could just be innocently at a party, at a house or at an institution that's having a party, that somebody in that building was doing something you didn't know anything about, right? And it comes on the news that this was happening. You're like, wait a minute. I thought my friend so-and-so was there. And you call them up, you go, did you go to that thing? Yeah. The news, you see what's going on? Oh, I didn't do that. I'm not, well, yeah, you're going to be associated with it now. So I learned not to just go anywhere that sound or look good, So thanks again,
what?
Denzel.
And I was gonna
I
ask
can't hear you. Hold on.
Are you hearing me? Oh, now all of a sudden I cannot hear you.
Hello?
Are you there now? Well, while he's trying to get that together, we are talking to Cylk
Oh,
Cozart on
oh well. Here,
conversations
let me
with
see here.
K-Town icons. Cylk, are you hearing me? You might need to go out and then come back in. He's trying to work on it. So what we started this podcast, Katusha Kroom and I, because a lot of people. She's currently working in the school system, being a teacher, teacher's assistant. I'm not sure exactly what her position is, but we got into this conversation where she talked about how some of the students that she's working with currently, they don't see themselves beyond their neighborhood. And so we thought, how can we let them know that there are people who sat in those same, walk the same halls that they're walking, and have gone on to better things? It's no problem if you want to stay in Knoxville, if you want to do whatever you want to do, but the possibilities are there for you. So Katusha Kroom and I, who also has her own Hollywood story to tell. She has worked as a writer and producer and screenwriter for some of the notable people in Hollywood as well. She and I decided to do this podcast. So we are talking with K-Town icon Cylk Cozart, and as you can see from the previous for what we discussed so far, he essentially has started out in sports, because most kids get involved in sports or some extracurricular activities in school, and then that he went to the Denver Nuggets for a tryout. I had no idea that he was that good, let alone he went to a Denver Nuggets tryout, broke his foot, had to do something else, ended up going to model, and from there ended up in Hollywood. So I am going to, I think he has come back in. Okay, Cylk, I don't know if you're hearing me, but
Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay,
but I don't see.
I'm trying to get the video. I must have hit something. I don't know on the phone.
Okay,
But
yeah, you got to flip it because we're looking at some books right
yeah,
now.
I know, right? I'm like, but how about now? I can't see you. I just see a phone. So can you? Is
Yeah,
this okay? Is
yeah,
this okay? All
yes,
right,
I can see.
okay. We'll just. How's that?
Yeah, that's good. So I'm gonna bring you back in, and
Okay,
then
good.
we've got a someone in the chat saying this is Ava Dupree Holmes saying, "Hey
Oh,
Steph." So you probably know at
uh,
Ava
eh,
and
yes.
all of those
And her brother, and she's just so cool. She's like so cool. She's very smart, very talented, and just a really kind individual. I haven't seen Eva in a long time.
as a matter of fact, I think she moved to Los Angeles, didn't she?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got to hang out a little bit. We got to go to a bunch of events together. Then you know how it is. You get pulled here and pulled there, and then years go by. You know. But yeah,
Correct.
she. What's that?
So you left off with talking about, and I had planned to ask you about family, because when we're growing up, a lot of what we get involved with or what we're able to pursue depends on the dedication of your family, having to take you to practice, take you to auditions, to keep you going before you realize the possibilities. So your family was very supportive in that that arena
They
for you.
not they were supportive in the early years of my upbringing. You know, far as making sure I was safe and had food and a place to stay. But when I left the nest, there was no family around, nobody. It was just me in LA, and then developed a few people, a few friends along the way. But having that family in the beginning, before I left, I can't tell you how important that was. It gave me that confidence that one needs in Hollywood or wherever you're going to go pursue your career. I don't care who you are, you're going to be overwhelmed at some point when you get to a certain level. And I see how a lot of people can get trapped and we're reading about them now. And when things that they did 20 years ago, they didn't think about, the internet, you know,
Right.
capturing all that. But just, I don't know. I don't understand how people cannot want to find people that have been there before them, if that's what they want to do, uh, and put yourself in that arena. That's,
Hmm.
if you want to perform in that arena, put yourself in that arena. You know, um, and there's ways to do it. There's no one way to do anything. That's my
So,
experience. That's what I found.
so having mentors is important.
Extremely, extremely. And they don't just come out of the sky. That's the thing. You don't just walk around and find a mentor. You have to want that. You have to know you need someone a lot smarter than you that's done it before you. Why would you not want to, like if you had never had done a podcast before and didn't look at any other podcasts or watch people the way they did it, it might take you a while, but if you have a mentor, someone that's done it, and they kind of walk you through some things and kind of show you this or that, and then you go out on your own, it's such a difference. I mean, it's such a big difference, you know and that's why the transition from sports to the entertainment business seemed like it wasn't that much of a difference to me, because when you're playing ball, you're playing in front of audience. It's like theater. You do a play. It's and you have a director, a coach. It's like a coach. You have players, you have co-stars, you have the stars. And you said something in the beginning, I think in your opening, that you said in his prime he did this, White Man Can't, all those. I don't feel like I've reached my prime yet, if you really want to know the truth. um, and I hope that doesn't sound any other way than what it is I think we constantly grow and we get better in things. I mean, it's like when somebody says, who's the best basketball player in the world? What era? You can't just say one player, unless if you do, it's Michael Jordan. I know that. Nobody, I mean, you can argue, but there's no way anybody was better than him. No, there's no way. I don't care what anybody says. The stats prove it. Everything proves it. It's like science. If you can't prove it, then it's you just hoping something. You just guessing. But anyway, that's another story. So I was able, what I thought was very unique about my journey is that playing ball, I could play at a certain level. I could play at an NBA level, and knowing all my friends knew it. I played against a lot of NBA guys. They were like, wanting me to be in the league, even after I got hurt. I mean, Elston Turner, who we grew up together, and we went at it every day before he even went, while we were in high school, before he went to college, before I went to. So you play against guys like that. There's a guy named, um, let's see, Rupert Breedlove. He was the biggest guy I'd ever seen in my life. He was from Knoxville. He's like 7-footer. Um, Got into some trouble, but he was like he was a monster. So I was playing against him at 13. So by the time I got to doing a movie with Shaq, when we did Blue Chips, okay, you're 7'2". I just got to shoot a little higher over you. So
Right.
it really depends on those early years, what you're exposed to. And that's why I love working with kids of all ages, because if you expose children to math at a certain early age, it's not going to be so big of a deal by the time they get to junior high or high school. I wasn't exposed to it. I got behind because I was already 2 years younger than everybody in my grade, but I didn't realize it until maybe middle of high school. But most people don't go through that. So by the time I got to college, and I went to some hard colleges. I mean, they academically, to me, I was struggling. I mean, it was tough. It was tough to keep that scholarship on all of them, because King College, where I graduated, they're known for doctors, lawyers, and I'm going because I love the coach. And I get there and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Can you go over that again? They were like, no, you're supposed to know that before you get here. Anyway, so it was eye-opening to my freshman year in college was the most frightening, most difficult thing. Here I am, barely 16, 17 years old, not even 17. Well, I'm 17 in college, but never hadn't gone outside of Knoxville. And then but I like North Carolina because it reminded me of Knoxville. Montreat Anderson, Asheville is right, a couple hours away. And I always thought I'd get out of college, play in the NBA for 10 years, and go right into acting. And after acting about 10 years, win an Academy Award, go into directing, win Academy Award, and then just start living, bringing up a lot of other actors and directors and people at that point. I wrote it out as that when I was 10. I wrote out that I was getting those exactly 10-year increments. And didn't quite happen exactly like that, but I have no complaints. And just God sometimes puts you exactly where you say you want to be. Now it's up to you.
Amen. So in speaking of Oscar winning, you probably know this too, but when actor Jamie Foxx accepted his Oscar for the lead role in the movie Ray, he said that he arrived in LA with two talents. He wanted to sing, make his mark in singing, but after he won the Oscar, he said he would now focus on acting. So what was your breakout role that made you say this acting thing is going to work out?
That's a great question. It wasn't a particular movie or a role. It was a particular different individuals that were already in the industry that you probably never heard of, just different people along the way that actually recognized some qualities that I might have and convinced me to hone these things. And acting's it's an art. You don't just wake up and be an actor. I mean, you can wake up and have certain qualities that are natural, but it's an art. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. Everybody could do it, but it's not. And then you learn that other people might have other ideas than you have. You learn to work within an environment that from people from all over the world, different races, different nationalities, and everything. And that just strengthens you. It gives you a better arsenal, a bunch of arsenals to use when you're playing different characters. And it's all related. I just directed a movie called Inherit the Land. It's a documentary, and it's getting ready to go into distribution. And I'll let you know where it goes. But and I wrote the screenplay from a book that I bought the rights to, called Inherit the Land, from Gene Stowe, and an incredible friend of mine, Jim Johnson, who I placed as the producer because I knew he could. He says, I had never produced. I said, but you do exactly what a producer needs, what I need a producer to do, whether you've done it or not. He's very good at it. But anyway, you put your team around you, just like on sports. That's why I say sports and entertainment, they go like this if you pay attention. And I've been paying attention. So when the movie came, we got Best Historical Documentary at the Hollywood Weekly Magazine Film Festival. We got Best Picture at another festival of all-female movies. Female-driven scripts or projects is what it was. But and they asked me, all the interviews would ask the same thing and said, wait a minute, you wrote the script, you directed it, you narrated, and you sung and did the title song.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you see me now?
Yeah, I don't know
Hello?
what happened, but you're on. And is
Damn it.
that your office? You got books everywhere. So while he's working on his visuals, just to let you know, we are talking to Cylk Cozart. He's an actor, producer, and entrepreneur from Knoxville, Tennessee. And as you can tell, Wi-Fi problem. So I think he just signed back in on another. Okay. All
How's that?
right.
Uh, I think when it rings, it disconnects something. I don't know if I should not. Um, I just sent it to voicemail. I didn't know if that affected it, but
I don't know. Maybe because depending on your service. Now I'm getting a lot of feedback.
you are.
Yeah, I can hear myself. But what I was doing was showing your Facebook page of all some of the movies that you have been in, and of course we said White Men Can't Jump, 16 Blocks. What was that movie you were in with Mel Gibson that you have on your
It
page?
was it was called Conspiracy Theory.
Conspiracy Theory.
Yeah,
Okay.
the same
So you
director, Richard Donner, who did he directed Superman, and all the Lethal Weapons. Um, and his name's Dick Donner. So he brought me with the Bruce Willis film 16 Blocks, and then Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. Just great people, wonderful people.
So now, of course, people are trying to figure out how to break into the business. And I know with most things, there's a protocol that has to happen. But when it comes to acting, because I keep getting these calls or these emails from companies that claim to, if you pay us a certain amount of money, we'll put together your acting resume, your headshot, and all of that, and then we'll put you in front of the people. So what's the process? Do you need an agent? Can you just show up to an audition? There's all these different ways for you to get into the business. What would you, if somebody wanted to get your advice, what would you suggest?
Well, I think there's more ways not to do it than to do it. So I don't want to go into all the things what you should not do, but I some things you just don't do. First of all, just showing up, no, because that usually when people are auditioning, they're on a time schedule, so they might you might be great, you might even be right for the part, but you've interrupted their flow of what they're doing. It's tension anyway because you're using millions of dollars in a lot of cases, so they don't have time just to. If it was that way, everybody would do it, you know. And there's nothing wrong with signing with an agency that will if they will set you up with the pictures. You have to have photos. You have to have a video of your work. If you don't have any videos or any scenes that you've done, whether they are play or a movie or a TV show or even a commercial, then the auditioners don't know what you can do. So you have to develop a tape in order to give to your agent. Your agent's not responsible for making your tapes. There's agencies that help you do that, but like I said, you want to put yourself in that environment. So if you don't have a movie scene or reel, you have to put one together. That's one thing. But I tell everybody that starts out to do a play. Do a play, because you'll know if you like the theater, or better yet, if the theater likes you, because you'll know when you're on that stage. It'll tell you if you're in the right place or not. I when I my first play, I saw a play when I was like, God, I think I was maybe 9, and it was a bad play, but I didn't know that. I just said, I don't believe that. That's fake, or something. But it was a bad play. Now, 10 years
Mhm.
later, I'm in New York, and I'm on an off-Broadway play, and I'm mesmerized. I wanted to jump up on stage, but it was a great play. So then I saw the difference in, good acting, bad acting, great acting, horrible acting, great writing, horrible writing. I used to wonder, how do you decipher which one, you know? But the more you do, the more you learn. And I think just getting right in it, do a play is what I would tell. Do a play, at a theater, a local theater. That's because everything started from a play. That was the first educators. They would go to another country and come back to your country and show you how they talked and the foods that they made and how they dressed and how they handled situations. And that just kept giving you more information on how to build characters. And with this business, it's all connected. And what I was getting ready to say before I messed up this technical thing, when the journalists were asking me, how do you write the song? You sung the lead, you narrated, you directed. How do you do all those things? And I said, well, I don't look at it as all those things. I look at it as one. They're all one. It's like in a meal, you got chicken, rice, you got maybe soup and salad before, you got dessert. You can make all those things, right? And you can
Right.
have help to make all those things. So you have to know how to prepare. And I was raised by a chef, by the way. So
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, that's how I look at it. Everybody looks at things different, and that's good. We need different. It's like music. The music industry is like, to me, it's not many people creating music. They're recreating what's been out there and what's been over the years, that's talent. It takes talent to do that. But the people that originated those songs, Marvin Gaye didn't. He might have loved Sam Cooke, but he wasn't trying to be Sam. He was doing what he felt. Barbara Streisand didn't try to sound. She's not trying to be somebody else. And actors, the same thing. You know, I had a guy. I teach acting, right? So I master class, and one of the guys, he was a baseball player, and he was a really good baseball player. So his family said, "Oh, you could be an actor. Oh, you should do this because you're great in baseball." Well, he comes to my class, and I don't pull punches because I don't I don't want people to go out there and think it's easy, and then they get, like Mike Tyson said, everybody thinks they can fight till they get hit in the mouth. you know,
Right.
so I try to give them little tabs and where it don't hurt them, but it wakes them up, hitting them in the mouth, not literally, but I let them know that wasn't no that it's nothing's not bad. It's just this can be better. So it's not mistakes. You don't make mistakes when in my class. There's no mistakes. It's like you do this scene. Now we can do it. Let's do it better. It's not bad. Nothing's bad. So we eliminate all the stuff that gets people, insecure right away, especially the young actors or new actors. There's people in their 60s and 70s that are new actors, So that I don't know if I might have went off the subject there for a little bit, but I thought
Well,
that was important.
I want to ask you, so what if someone wants to take your classes? Do you have a website for that? How would they find out more about taking your acting classes?
Well, I've been teaching private for years because I don't particularly think we can learn as much when there's 30, 40 people in a room. Um, I think you can learn some things, but I think you got to be one-on-one with a lot of people and then develop a body a body of people so you can put them together because everybody's going to need something different. I might need to learn how to memorize script. She might need to learn how to break down a character. Um, he might need to learn how to develop a character, or everybody needs something different. And there's no way that you're talking to 30 people and really help each one of those. I like the one-on-one private lessons for the first, say, 4 lessons, and then we put them in an environment with other folks. So I'm pretty different about that. I'm very tough. I don't particularly care for a lot of these acting teachers. It's never acted. Can you imagine going to a doctor? You got to have brain surgery, and this guy says, "Hey, I always wanted to be a brain surgeon. I can help you out. I can do that. I can do it, man. I can do it. You don't believe in me? No, I don't. I
So then, if someone wanted to, so they can just reach out to you
on
on
Facebook.
your Facebook page, and then
Yeah,
you can, they can.
and then we'll meet. We'll have a meeting virtual, or even meet for a coffee, or either I have them come to my studio here, um, in off of Millbrook Pike, and we'll have a session, and I'll see where they are. A lot of people can just show up to classes not knowing what are you there for? What kind of classes are you taking, and what's offered. A lot of people just waste their money. And I don't believe in that. I'm not doing this. I don't do it for money. I do it because I love developing talent. You know, nobody really helped me in those early stages, those crucial times in the early stages that we need. By the time you get to Hollywood, everybody's like, hey, you on your own, man. You know, and I really, Denzel, that's why I love him so much. He's so secure with himself. I met so many people, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, all kind. It didn't matter. They were so insecure, so it didn't help you because they felt like, well, if I help him, he might get the role, or he might get, bigger than me. A lot of our folks did that to me, and I watched them do it to each other and other people. And I always said, when I get to be, when I get to be there, I'm not going to do that. And I've held on to that. I help as many people as I can if they're serious. If it's somebody just, oh, I think I'll try acting, I'm not the guy. There's people that can help you do that. I mean, I could help them, but to me, it's not utilizing what I have to offer. So I cut right to what that person needs. And sometimes you have to strip away what that person has learned. If they've learned the wrong way, let's just say you tell somebody, I need 6 holes dug in the yard there, I'm planting these trees. Well, if you just go in and start digging holes, and I come back and I go, you didn't ask me where I was supposed to tell you where the holes were. You just started, you worked hard, but you worked not effectively. Now you got to redo that and all that. So I cut out all that and get right to what that person needs. It's like I learned from all the great directors about that.
And speaking of great directors, some people have what they call a list of people that they want to work with,
Yeah.
and that they absolutely refuse to work with. So, who are some of the most difficult A-list actors that you've worked with, or directors, and why? Who's on your "I will never work with that person again in life" list?
Well, that's another word that is hard for me to say. Is 2 words is hard for me to say. It's easy and never. I might have said them, but I don't really like those words. But there's quite a few that, I mean, the list is very long that people you don't want to work with because of one reason or another. It's not because they're not talented. It's not because they're not really good at what they do. But I'm a big stickler on how you treat people. If let's just say you're working on a film and an actor, Chevy Chase, was kind of difficult, and they don't talk to you. They don't talk to anybody. And like, there's no reason for that. You could say hello, without, spending a whole day with somebody. If somebody speaks to you, just speak back. Some actors and some directors won't even acknowledge anybody other than the main star or the producer or the person that's funding the project. And to me, that sends a bad signal, and it starts out really well. I hate naming a lot of people. I can name the people I really like.
And you know what? On that note, though, I was looking at, and I'll just say this. A lot of people are saying you might have seen the Cat Williams interview on Shay Shay
Oh yeah,
podcast, and of course,
I know Cat.
Monique came after that, and people started talking about their experiences with Steve Harvey, and how they said, one of the people in the chat said they were on his security team, and how he wouldn't even speak to them. He wouldn't acknowledge them. And this person is, a part of it. So someone else said, well, did you want him to be your friend? And, the response was, I wasn't asking him to be my friend, just be cordial and speak and say hello. And, it's like that simple. It doesn't take a lot to just be cordial and be humane to people and acknowledge people.
Exactly. Point taken. And I can name you a few actors and actresses that you work with them, you're on the set, they make specific instructions to the the PAs, the production assistants, they'll come to different people and they'll say, don't ask her any questions. Don't look in her eyes, you know, and all
Oh
this
my God.
stuff. And you're like, wow, wow, that's really an insecure person. Whether you're a great star or whatever, you're still an insecure individual to have people do that, Why are you doing? I mean, you can't speak, you can't say hello. And if you're getting harassed, you set yourself, with security and you only come out when you need, but not just because you think you're all that, because the next day you can not be all that, you know.
Correct.
It's a lot. This business is very humbling to the non-white uh, actors, celebrities, entertainers, whatever you want to call them. It's just not. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And
So I'm sorry, it seems like you are reading my question list because my next question is there's recent talk about Black actors being underpaid. And you might have seen Taraji P. Henson. She's like the person who spoke out recently, says she has been underpaid most of her career. Emmy Award winner Viola Davis talks about it even. And Terrence Howard admitted that he only got paid $12,000 for the role in the acclaimed movie Hustle and Flow. So,
that's
did you
correct.
feel as if your pay was comparable to A-listers that you worked with alongside in some of those movies, or was it considerably less?
It was considerably less because it was either you either take it or you don't. And you know, you got to eat. And so I started again. I reached back to my roots, to my upbringing. Um, I was born on. I was raised on a farm. Kind of like a farm. Just very basic, simple life. So I didn't feel like I needed a lot of things and stuff. So I didn't. I didn't request a lot of things. As long as I had, my bills were paid and my family was taken care of, I'm good. Anything after that was dessert. So I had that kind of going into it. But then when I saw the pay scale, how it was such a different scale from them, I thought, wow, it's like swimming in the ocean. You can't fight, you know, the wave. If you fight the wave, you will lose every time because the wave will just keep going. But if you relax and ride with the wave, find a way to ride with the wave. It's not just one way. So once you find that way, then you can enjoy the journey instead of trying to fight against it every time you go out to the. So I looked at it like that. So if I had a friend, Matthew Perry, who passed away not too long ago, we did a movie called Three to Tango, and he came up to me when we were in Toronto filming. He's Canadian, and Nev Campbell's Canadian, so we filmed in Toronto. And he came up to me after like the second week of filming, and he says, "I just got FU money." I went, "What?" "I just got FU money," and I'd never heard that term. You know what I mean? And I said, "Well, what's that?" He goes, "Enough money to say you." And I was like, I said, "Matt, what are you talking about?" He goes, I'm getting $1 million a week, a show. I said,
Wow.
for Friends? He goes, "Yeah." And he says, "I'm gonna make sure the cast gets their money too." And I said, "Wow." Now, before that, he was making, a couple $100,000, which is a lot a week. And I mean, I'm like, most people don't make that in their lifetime. What he made in a week. So, uh, was he worth it? Yeah. Was anybody else worth it? Yeah. But I had the same folks before that. We did a show called Living Single, where Queen Latifah, they didn't have a series. They just had a pilot, one show. That show had to be really good or they wasn't going to get 12 more episodes for a season. So they fired this actor that I end up playing, um, the character. But they fired the first, not sure who that was, somebody fairly well known, but they were fired. And in sitcoms, it's 5 days. Monday, you're reading.
Oh, he is going again. What is going on with? Okay, he's back. What?
You there?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess every time your phone rings or something happens. But you were talking about living single, and I was playing the clip that you have of you in living single, because you have that on your page as well. So I just wanted to show them that. But now we're not seeing you again at all. So while he's getting that together, I just wanted to go over some of the highlights of what Cylk has shared with us, and that being that okay, so now he's clicked out. He keeps signing back in on a different one. Okay, you're back. So
Okay.
what I thought was important was you mentioned swimming against the tide, or trying to enjoy the trip. And so a lot of people going to another actor, Monique, they're like, everything can't be a struggle, a fight, because you're gonna tire yourself out. You're not gonna enjoy it. You got to find another way to get what you want,
That's right.
besides making it a fight every single time. And that's not to say that she doesn't have a valid point for
Got a
a
great point.
fight, but you've got to have a different way of going about it. Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And it's really up to you to find that way. Nobody just offers it. So it's trial and error, basically. But Monique, unbelievably talented, and she is telling the truth. She's not amplifying anything. She's right. But it's how you handle that, you know? It was between me and Cuba Gooding for um, A Few Good Men.
Hmm.
And I mean Jerry Maguire. Sorry, I I was up for Pugaman, but Jerry Maguire was going back and forth, me and him, and um, we would talk all the time, and he got paid really well, but he still didn't get paid what certain other actors that had less credits that were not black uh, got, but he and it's a different situation with him. I mean, he grew up with a famous father, Cuba Gooding Sr., lead singer of, you know, Everybody Plays a Fool, the main ingredient. So he hadn't really had to suffer like some of us. But and I always joke with him about that. But I mean, it all depends on how you grew up, what how you were shaped and molded before you get to this place where you want to be, but you don't realize it till you're already in it. And like I said, Monique was telling the truth. Kat's telling the truth. Um, Difference is Kat's protected a little bit, so you can talk a little bit more. She's not, obviously, and you can't just what is it? The speed limit can say 55, but that don't mean you need to drive 55 all the time. Sometimes you might need to drive 50, or sometimes you might need to drive 70. But you got to control that. And the moment you don't control that, it's when they got you. You know. And a lot of things you don't need to voice. You just need to keep within your family of protection, so to speak, and then you kind of figure out how you want to pursue that and go out after that, instead of just saying what you feel, because it's American. I can say what I want. I'm not saying she did that. I'm just saying there are people that do that without thinking the repercussions of that.
So a friend of mine is a line producer, Patrick Coleman. He is a producer on a couple of shows, and I interviewed him a couple of years ago. And one of the things that he said that he wished he had done earlier in his career was to advocate for himself,
Right.
more for himself, because closed mouth doesn't get fed. We know that. So some of us, sometimes we're just so glad to be at the table. Sometimes we don't ask for the money. We don't do, and when we do, we get turned down, and then we don't want to walk away when we should, just to let people know our values. Like you said, you have to pick and choose how you handle that. So if you had to give your earlier self, give your younger self advice, what would it be, to the young Cylk Cozart who was starting his career? What advice would you give to yourself and others who are coming up behind you?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't just be um, infatuated with the limelight. I would learn the business side of things earlier, because it's show business. The business is bigger than the show. And if you don't take care of the show ain't going to happen. And if it does happen without taking care of the business part, show's going to only last that long. So I would tell that young Cylk Cozart to say, you know, should have studied more in school, more business classes in college, paid attention a little bit more, a lot more, um, on on just how different people do what they do. And that's a very strong thing for me, because when I got in the business part, I thought, oh, $1,000 for this. Wow, that's a lot. That's more than I made, when I was in school. And then people doing the same thing were making 5,000. And
Mm.
so I had to learn why they. I mean, are they better than me? I mean, we're about the same kind of thing. No, they had a better agent, or it's about positioning yourself to be in a better place. And it's not always about the money. Most of the time it is. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. Most of the time it is about the money. I don't care what anybody says. But a lot of times it's about the project. And is it a good project for you to build on? Is it something that you'd be proud that your grandkids or your kids or your family would say, wow, wow, Cylk, you did that movie? Oh, wow. That elevates you and on so many different ways. And that turns into monetization. You can monetize when you do good work. You can't monetize bad work.
So
So always.
is that why you started to produce your own projects? And what projects are you working on now?
Well, I'll say this: Bradley Cooper, wonderful actor, wonderful director. They will give him $100 million to do a movie without any doing movies before that. With me,
Mhm.
they ain't gonna give me 100 million. Paramount or Warner Brothers, Universal ain't gonna give me $100 million to do the Titanic. So knowing that, for whatever reason, they do that with some folks and some they don't. Just depends. That's the way it is. Then you have to create your own space. And people ask me, how do you get started? I want to make movies. How do you? I say, well, get a camera and start filming your dog or your cat or your aunt or your mom or film a story. It's about storytelling. If you keep it there, you'll learn more about the overall aspect of the industry, because it's all connected. If you just focus on one thing, that's fine when you're coming up and developing. But once you're in, it's so many different facets that will determine the outcome. So if you're not privy or don't even know those things exist, you're never really going to achieve where you want to be. But if you at least acknowledge and put yourself in that arena, or I love the fact that you talk to your friends, a line producer. Most people don't even. Most actors, I guarantee you, 90% of the actors out there, even stars, okay, do not know what a line producer does. You give your script to a line producer first, so he or she can line item. Oh, you want to shoot an aerial shot? You want to do it as a helicopter? No, that's too much liability. Use a drone. So they'll cut that out. That just saves you, 100 grand. So they will go through line by line item and tell you what the real budget of that script is going to be. Not some made up, oh, it's going to be 10 million. What are you basing that on? If they can't tell you where that 10 million goes, they're just pulling it out of their hat. So I learned to pay attention to those things on each category. A gaffer. Most people in the business don't even know what a gaffer does. A gaffer makes sure the lighting is exactly what the story is about. You know, if it's a dark story, it's lit a certain way. If it's a gigantic musical, it's going to be lit a whole nother way. So learn those things because they're all related. You know, once you know that, then the acting becomes like a part of that instead of somewhere on top. You know, it's all a part of that fabric. And that's what another thing I would tell a young Cylk Cozart coming into this. It's all related, you know. So I don't know if that answers the question or not.
It does. And you brought up drones versus helicopters and the budget. Now, I started a drone company. So I will put
Really?
this out there. If you need a drone for your productions, let I need to bid on that contract, and I would
Okay.
love to be a part of your productions that you're doing. And also something else that you're doing is you started your own line of adult beverages. So I'm going to
Yes.
show people. Talk to us about what led you to start Cylk Whiskey.
Well, I wanted to start with a wine because I thought that would be kind of a good way to ease into that spirit world. And because Cylk wine sounded like it would be a good product because most people drink wine. Everybody don't drink whiskey. And when I got into that, I thought, wait a minute. I started meeting people that had their own, facilities and they had their whiskey or their product. And I thought, wow, okay, I want to be hands-on everything that I'm doing. So I wanted to learn, you know, how long it's aged in those barrels, and it's all about the barrels. It's all about, having bourbon that's at least 8 years, 10 years old, and then you can make the whiskey. So I started learning about that, and I attacked that the same way as I did the film business, putting the right team around. And I learned very quickly that this business of alcohol is far more diabolical than the film and music industry put together. So
Wow.
they literally tried to steal my name, Cylk. They literally the people and after I had it ready to be sold, I had to deal with that. And I had to basically sue the people that was working with me that I trusted. So I had to
Hmm.
sue them, obviously won. But it was right when I had the bottles were ready, everything was ready to go. So I couldn't put it out yet. And in fact, I haven't put it out globally yet. We're getting ready to put it out now in just a little bit. But that and the beer company. I have a beer company called Country Roads with Rick Clark. And he's in Charlotte. He's an ex NFL agent and NASCAR owner. Him and Brad Daugherty owned No Fear um, NASCAR. So he and I share both the whiskey and the beer. And now we're going to be a part of the ACC coming up. So all those ACC schools, from Miami to Syracuse, I think Clemson's going to be leaving this year, but all those schools, we're going to be the official craft beer. So that's something that's getting ready to come up.
Good for you. That's awesome.
And I'll let you know where the whiskey lands. So,
You know what? Yeah, we need to talk offline. You, Katusha, and I don't know if you know the Crooms, Katusha Kroom.
heard that
Um,
name.
well, she did a lot of work with on the Monique show and Spike Lee, and she
That's
used
what
to
we have in
work.
common, Spike.
Yeah, yes. So
School days.
she's done a lot of work in Hollywood as well. So we've teamed up to start this podcast. And as I said, also the drone company. So we will certainly keep in touch.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you before the show's over, the main reason I wanted to put an alcohol business together, or whiskey, beer, and everything, but is to finance the projects for movies and TV shows because it's very lucrative once you get it out there. So I thought I hate asking people for money to do a movie. Yeah, I'm not good at that. There are people that are really good at just that. That's all they do. They hook people up for funding. They take a small percentage and they go to the next project. It's just hard for me to say, I need your money to do. I can make the movie, but I don't like talking about money and stuff. So I just have attorneys do all that stuff, or people that are really good at that. I'm a firm believer of staying where you're really good at, and the things you're not, you got time to work on those. Don't put yourself in a position just because you like that position. You know, so that's a whole nother story, by the way. But that was why I'm really excited about the beer, the Country Roads beer. You're gonna be hearing a lot about that. We're gonna be on game day, which is one of the biggest days in sports with ESPN. So our deal is with ACC and ESPN. And Disney
Wow.
just happens to own ESPN, and they work with the ACC very close. So that's happening. That's a really interesting process, by the way.
And you know
I'm having
what?
fun.
A lot of people, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, is that they think just because you're not in, the top paid actor, or you're not doing something that's in the forefront in the spotlight, that there's not the business of, you can make anything a business, and because there's all processes that go on. So
That's
just
right.
because they don't know your name doesn't mean you're not making money and providing for your family.
Oh,
And
absolutely. That's a
so,
horrible misconception, by the way. I've actually had people, not so much now, but in the early years, they would come up to me. Like I did a movie called Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Vanessa Williams. And maybe screen time, maybe 5 minutes altogether, six. I don't know. I don't really count the minutes, but I actually have people come and say, "Oh man, it's sad that so bad you were in that movie only for a few minutes." Oh yeah, and I'm like, what does that mean? I bought two houses from that movie, just that movie. What are they? What they have no idea. You don't get paid for the amount of minutes you're in a movie. You get paid for the what you bring to that movie. And just because you don't know, I mean, such an ignorance that most Americans have. I've been all over the world, and it's really most Americans have that kind of ignorance. They don't leave. You don't leave Carnes. You stay in Carnes, and you're solving all world's problems right from Carnes. Dang, here's what we're gonna do there, buddy. Here's what they got to do. I tell you. 10 years later, you see the same guy in the same place. Yeah, well, here's what we're going to do. So, so I learned, you know, traveling, go to Atlanta, you know, leave Knoxville, and then you can always come back. I came back to take care of my mom. That's the only reason I came back.
I
And
was going to ask you why you came back. So family took care of you, and now it's time to take care of family.
that's once a man, twice a child. There's nobody more important than your mother. No one.
Amen.
No one. No one. I don't. I mean, yeah, our fathers are real important. They did a little bit, but our moms. We come from our moms. All of us, not just the men. People come from a mother. There is nobody more important than that. So and my mom, I watched her metamorphosis. Like I said, from a teenager to a young woman to an older woman, and how boys treated her, how young men treated her, how men treated her, all along the way. And I learned what not to do, what would never do. And I'm appalled. I'm absolutely appalled at people that don't communicate with their mothers when they're right in the same city or whatever. Now I understand if somebody was abusive to you, hey, you got every right to not want to talk to them, whatever it is. But if you're just angry because they didn't give you an allowance, or they didn't see you when you wanted to be seen, and you're mad at them, that does, I don't understand that kind of thing. So when my mom needed me, she didn't tell me she needed me. I figured it out, and I kind of flipped the script a little bit. I called her and I said, "Mom, I need to come home." I said, "Hollywood's getting to me." No, it wasn't. But I knew if I said I needed her for anything, she would be like, "What do you, baby? What do you need? What do you need? So I wanted to make sure she was okay. And she knew her son was here for her, not 3,000 miles away, could get on a plane, you know. Yeah, I'd rather live here and go to LA or New York or wherever I got to go than live in LA and come home every once in a while. So it's so fulfilling to me because, you know, she's in the house. She's got her own section of the house. I'm in the other section. I'm 60-year-old, but I don't she's more important. I don't need to go on dates. I've already had my dates. I'm like, my mom is the most important thing. And you can't operate at a full level if you don't think your family is okay. Or at least
Amen.
you're helping to make sure they're okay. And that's fulfilling to me. So I had to start my production company here. I don't have anything that I had in LA. I had two assistants in LA. I had a driver and all that stuff because you get more done if you're not driving, nowadays. So, you spend 3 hours in traffic in LA driving. But if you have a driver, you spend 3 hours working while you're
Right.
riding. So it's just a practical thing for me. And then to get assistance is very difficult because people here are not used to, those spending that kind of money, or making, that kind of money. So I had to make an adjustment there, and I wanted to make it clear. I don't really have time to teach acting. I don't, but I make time for a specific class and for specific people that are really serious. And that's why I have to meet with them. I don't just go, "Hey, come to my class." Nah, I'm really specific in the work, and that way you get more done. They get more out of it. It creates, better atmosphere and work ethics, which elevates all of us. So yeah, my mom. That's why I came back, and then I think now she knows that I'm happy being home. I like being on. I still the house I grew up in. There's rabbits and I saw a couple of wolves. I'm out in the country. I got cats. I got raccoons. That dog. The dog lives in the house. Raccoons and cats are all outside, but there's no snakes around me. I don't want no snakes. So the cats patrol the outside of the house. The dog makes sure nobody comes in the house and mess with me and mom.
So you got it all worked out. Well,
It works out for me. For me, it does. And now my production company, I'm here in my office now. It's a musical environment more than filming. So I just work with a lot of great musicians here. Seva, he runs this place. It's just Sequoia Studios. It's on Millbrook Pike. And it's just Dolly Parton did a couple of her albums here, mastered them. And Seva is like a master recording engineer, producer, just unbelievable talent. And so we made a deal to work together. I make a movie. I show the screening there, and I say, get your great musicians. Let's put some music to that scene or to this scene. I thought I just walk across the hall, And if he needs something, they do a video. I'll direct it or help them with it. It's hard for me to direct just these videos around here because they all look like home videos, and I don't know how to do those things. I'm like, cell phone. I'm used to, a set, storyboarding it,
mm-hmm.
and they don't even have any money to do it. They go, "Oh, I want you to direct my video." I was like, "What's your budget?" And they're like, "Budget."
Budget.
I'm like, it takes money to do it. They don't even have the money to rent the equipment. I said, "Well, how do you expect to do it?" And they were like, "Well, you're a producer and you're a director." I thought, "Yeah, but I'm not funding your project." I'm still trying to get mine funded. Anyway, it's an educational progress here, as you very well know. And
So you know
I don't
what?
mind.
When I come back, I live in Dallas.
Okay.
When I come to Knoxville, because you mentioned mother families and mothers, my mom recently had a stroke, and I've been coming
Oh,
back and forth to Knoxville
God bless
to
her. I'm gonna
help.
say a prayer for her.
Amen. I appreciate that. So then I plan to be in Knoxville in the coming days, next week, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to reach out, and if you're available, I'll be back and forth. I would love to see your studio, and then maybe
Okay,
you and I and Katusha could sit down. And I know you're busy, so we'll try to, make
we'll
time,
work
and
it
even if
out.
it's virtual, yeah, we'll definitely work it out. So, any parting words? I always ask at the end of my interviews, my conversations, is there anything that you want to share that I didn't ask? Because I
Oh,
try to, give everyone something that they can walk away with, but there's, maybe there's something you want to share that we didn't go over.
well, there's a few things, but that might be another time. But you covered a lot of things, and my fault that my being technically inept, I didn't know how to deal with that. But usually had a camera and then all that set up, but because of this, I wanted to make sure we hit that time frame because I'm in the middle of editing. Um, I would say that anybody that's listening that wants to get in this business, um, don't look at any of the negatives so much as just the positives of what you want, and put yourself in that arena. And don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions. A lot of people are afraid to ask questions, and I just asked questions because I didn't know. And then when people say you ask too many questions, then that means they don't really have the answer. Why would you not want to have a discussion? So, get that out of your mind. Anybody's thinking about, oh, I don't want to bother somebody. You're not bothering them when you're asking important questions that you don't know the answers to. So I would really, that's a big deal. A lot of kids don't ask enough the right questions. So, and then put yourself where you want to be, and reach out to people that you might not think you can get in touch with. I think we limit ourselves. There's no limit. That's what I would leave us with.
And I appreciate that. I've been known as the question asker of my group. And so I'm with you on that. People are like, why is she asking so many questions? Because I don't understand. That's just
She's
that
smart.
simple.
She's smart.
So
That's why.
I appreciate that. So we certainly will keep in touch. You have a great rest of your weekend. And if you want to know more about Cylk Cozart and what he's doing, he's on Facebook, and you can send him a message that way. But I certainly will be reaching out to him and keeping up with. So we'll have you back to talk about the developments of your current projects.
Sounds good. Thank you,
All
Stephanie.
right.
I love your show.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye. So that was Cylk Cozart. He is an actor, producer, entrepreneur, and he was our latest KTown icon that we want to talk to, just so you can see some of the amazing people who started in Knoxville, Tennessee, and the surrounding areas. So if you want to suggest to Katusha and I who we might be able to highlight in our KTown Icon series, then my name is Stephanie Rivers. My email address is info@stephanierivers.com. So make sure you spell my name right. Okay, info@stephanierivers.com to find out more about what we're doing. So we want you to have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time on KTown Icon.